Good morning, Endeavour, and a very happy Thursday to you. Well, yesterday was a scorcher, and it looks like today's going to be just the same too, so I hope you enjoy it and you're keeping cool somewhere. We rejoin our story where we've just talked about the gods and Pandora, and now we're back at Mucklethrift Manor for chapter 13. Aha, you cry, these two stories are going their separate ways again, and I can see why you may think that, but in fact the two stories are about to come together in an unexpected way. So unexpected, I never expected it. No writer could even think of a twist like this, not even a good writer like me. The fact is, it happens to be true. Back in Eden City, we were on our way to Mucklethrift Manor. Theus kept saying, "How did this happen?" all the way to Mucklethrift Manor. "What, Theus?" I asked. "The liars like that beggar, and the sickness of those babies, and the children who are slaves. The gods don't care. Zeus never cared," he muttered as he shifted the coffin onto his shoulder and walked on. "Zeus always told me to leave the little hairless humans alone in their cold caves. He said they'd soon die out like the dinosaurs. But some of the other gods must have cared. My brother Epimetheus cared so much he went to live with the humans. What went wrong?" Everything seemed to trouble him. From the skinny dogs who fed on gutter scraps, the skinnier girls selling matches on the corner, the smoke from the hot pigeon pie stall, to the squabbling men who punched one another into the horse droppings in the middle of the road. White gloating groups of grubby women cheered. The screaming and the steaming of the distant railway engines made him shiver in horror. "We need to make a sacrifice," he said as we kept turning into Station Street, and I had to skip to keep pace with him and Uncle Edward. "A sacrifice? Kill something?" I gasped. "Yes, even in this awful place there must be a temple. The gods are angry. We have to make a sacrifice. An ox, and give the good meat to the gods," he explained. "Where is the temple?" "I don't know. Sorry, Theus. Uncle Edward and I only arrived in Eden City a day ago, and we'll be leaving on the midnight train," I said. I could have added, "before we get caught. I don't know my way around the city, and I've never seen a temple in any town I've been to." He nodded. "That's why the place is so full of evil." "Where did it come from?" he asked. He was just about to get the answer. Uncle Edward reached the front door of Mucklethrift Manor and was about to raise the brass knocker when the wide, shiny door swung open. The butler, with the face of an ice pick, stood there and waved us in quickly. The warmth of the house wrapped itself around us. "Aha!" Uncle Edward cried. "We are expected. We are welcomed by the master with wine and the finest foods, I expect," he added, hopefully. The butler looked nervous. "Mr. Mucklethrift would like to see you in the library," he said, worried as a worm on a wet day. "Of course he does," Uncle Edward cried. "He wants to talk through my programme, maybe share a few stories and a few glasses of the strongest spirits. I must be a rare treat for a man like Mr. Muckle—" But the butler cut him off in full flow, like a turning off of a gas tap. "Not you. Master Slaughterman. He wants to speak to the young gentleman." "Me?" I squeaked. "What have I done? I haven't done anything. I've never been near his library," I lied. "And I hadn't a clue about the silver letter opener he keeps in the bottom drawer of the desk, and—" I was cut off even more sharply than Uncle Edward. "Not you, street urchin," the butler sneered. He raised a crooked finger and pointed at Theus. "This young man, I believe your name is Mr. Theus?" "Yes," Theus answered. "And Mr. Mucklethrift is your cousin?" "Well," Theus began. I could see he was about to say no, but Uncle Edward cut in. "Indeed, sir, we only employ assistants like Theus if they come from good families. Why, little Jim here is a great-grand-nephew of the last king of France." "Am I?" I blinked. "Ah, I never told you that," Uncle Edward said. "I'll tell you when you reach your 21st birthday." "Thanks," I said. I have a very good memory. That's why Uncle Edward rescued me from the orphanage. He needed a boy who could learn lots of lines and drama and poetry quickly. I remembered Mr. Mucklethrift's name from earlier in the evening. It was in chapter 2. I bet you'd forgotten that, hadn't you? See, that's why I'm going to be a great writer. And you aren't, probably. Never mind. You can always be a teacher or a street sweeper or do some other kind of low-life job. "Now, Theus, put the chest in the drawing room so I can set up ready for tonight's grand show," Uncle Edward ordered, "and then you can run along for a chat with your dear cousin, Theus looked blank. "George," I put in quickly. "Cousin George," Theus said. He carried the coffin carefully into the drawing room and placed it gently on the table. He brushed the dust off his shoulder and the damp off his hat, and then he was ready to follow the butler. And I was ready to follow him. I'm not nosy. I'm just curious. Anyway, you should be grateful that I did follow them, because I can now tell you what happened next, can't I? The butler led Theus along the hallway with the thick, soft carpet and spoke quietly as footsteps. I'm sorry, I am confused, Mr. Theus, sir. I was helping Mr. Mucklethrift to dress in his room and came downstairs to see to the seats in the drawing room. Yes, Theus said, and as I passed the library door, Mr. Mucklethrift called me into the library. So I had left him upstairs just a few moments before. How did he get to the library? The baffled butler burbled. Don't worry, I said cheerfully. You're probably losing your marbles. The butler looked pained. That's what I thought. And then he reached the heavy oak door of the library and tapped before he opened it. The room was dark apart from a single candle. Come in, boomed the voice of a man who was Mucklethrift. Theus stepped in. While the butler turned to close the door, I slipped around the back of him and into the gloomy room. The door closed and I was in the shadow of a curtain where neither Theus nor Mucklethrift could see me. But the two men were too busy staring at one another to notice a skinny boy like me. Mucklethrift looked like he did in his portrait, but his body seemed to shimmer. He wasn't so much a rich fat man as a moving picture of one. A ghost, a spirit, a kind of phantom, or a god trying to take the shape of Mucklethrift. Come in, cousin Theus, the shimmering shape said. Zeus, Theus sighed, what are you doing here? See? What did I tell you? You never expected that one, did you? Not for a moment. I could not make up such a fantastic twist to the plot. That is why it has to be true. As to the last remark of Theus, that is what you call a good question. What was the top god doing in Mr. Mucklethrift's house? And Mr. Mucklethrift's body? It's another one of those page-turners, I'm afraid. Get on with it. And Fridays is called Mucklethrift Manor, evening, a second or two after the last chapter ended. Have a great day, guys. See you soon.